Story time! So, I was a Nintendo kid after getting an N64 for Christmas one year, and obviously this extended into the GameCube too. Picking up the Nintendo official magazine as I did every month, I got excited for the release of the next generation of Nintendo consoles, and poring over the previews of games that were going to be released. Luigi's Mansion, Super Smash Bros., you know, all the usual suspects. Among the previews of all these hot new games, there was one I was quite curious about, a game called Galleon. I'm not sure what drew my attention. I think the screenshots drew comparisons to The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and the idea of being a pirate exploring and finding treasure just sounded really cool. What made this more appealing is that the game just seemed to vanish, and there was never any more news on it, which led me wanting it even more. Many years later, I found out that the game did finally release on Xbox in 2004. If I had seen it when I had my original Xbox, I no doubt would have picked it up. Now, after over 20 years of waiting, I have finally righted the wrongs of time and played Galleon to completion. Was it worth the wait? Let's find out. Galleon was the brainchild of Toby Gard, who is the co-creator of Lara Croft, and was his first game to be independently created after leaving Core Design, where he worked on the aforementioned Tomb Raider. It turns out that Galleon's moving from GameCube to Xbox wasn't the first time that it had jumped ship between consoles. The game was obviously made for PC before moving to the Dreamcast, and then to the GameCube and eventually Xbox. I think it might have been planned for PS2 at some point too. The game was to be published by Interplay, who cancelled it after numerous delays, and eventually it was picked up by SCI Games in Europe and Atlus in North America, wanting the game to be an Xbox exclusive. Okay, let's get this going, boot the game up, and let's jump in. The opening cinematic introduces us to our hero, Captain Rama Sabria, a daring adventurer who has been called to the island of Akbar, where the governor, Dr. Aureliano, has invited Rama to investigate a strange discovery. Rama is met at the dock by Aureliano's assistant Jabez, who is definitely not suspicious, as he takes Rama to Aureliano's home via a shortcut through a cave filled with pitfalls and crumbling ceilings. This provides a space for a tutorial for the game's controls, which are a little unique. To start off though, you'll quickly notice that their base are the classic tank controls most famously used in early 3D games such as Resident Evil and, unsurprisingly, Tomb Raider. Now, it's worth remembering that this game was released in 2004, and 3D platformers had all but moved on from these types of controls. Maybe if the game had released when it was intended a few years earlier, it wouldn't be as noticeable, but on the Xbox it definitely feels dated. The next significant thing about the controls that the game points out is that there are two modes, walking and running, which offer different ways of traversing. While walking by pressing on the control stick lightly, you will never walk off edges and will automatically walk across small gaps. Running obviously allows you to move faster and jump further without restrictions. It somewhat makes sense, but one, the difference between the two modes is too great. You're either walking too slowly or dashing too quickly, and there's no normal middle ground. Secondly, I just feel like this is all just trying to solve a problem with 3D platforming which doesn't exist, especially in 2004. Sure, in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, it was annoying when you would automatically jump off a ledge you walked too close to, but it also removed the issue of having to time the jump by pressing a button. I'm just not sure it was necessary to try and reinvent the wheel, so to speak. Eventually, getting out of the cave, you'll also get to learn the game's combat system. It works by stringing together combos by pressing attack as Rama's hands glow, and this accumulates points that unlock special moves while you're in that combat. Honestly though, they're barely worth it, and you're better off just mashing buttons and your standard combo. In the game, you can go into first person mode and look around you, releasing the button when you're looking at an object to lock onto it. You can also tap the B button to quickly lock on to a nearby object. For some baffling reason, this quick lock on does not work in combat, which is where it would be most useful. Having to go into first person mode to look around with the inverted controls, that you can't change, and find an enemy to lock on to while a bunch of them swarm you is very disruptive, and to have to do this for encounters where there are multiple enemies mean that you are better off just mashing the attack button. We eventually meet Aureliano and his daughter Faith, who show Rama the reason they called him there, a strange ship that appeared with herbs on board that can grant magic powers, and Aureliano wants to find their source. In a surprise to no one, Jabez steals the ship, kills Aureliano, and Rama and Faith have to chase Jabez down across the game's 7 levels. Level 2 sees you trying to find Rama's friend Calvary, and introduces a lot of the game's mechanics proper, including swimming, treasure hunting by following icons that light up as you get closer to them, and wall climbing. This last one is made complicated by the tank controls that rotate you all around and make it difficult to work out which direction you are moving, since you can't control the camera. There's a lot of wall climbing involved throughout the game, and it's often difficult to tell which walls you can climb on. I call it wall climbing, but Rama really just runs up them, defying gravity and all known reason. Also, be on the lookout for hidden treasures and guns you can use in combat, and secret swords that give you more attack strength. These will also be needed to obtain the extra ending. You'll catch up to Jabez, but you'll have to deal with the next thing, giant boss battles. This time in the form of statues that come to life. You'll have to climb up their backs and give them a good stab in the head. Not too difficult, but you'll be seeing this type of battle a fair bit. Jabez turns Calvary into a monkey and sinks the island, while Rama escapes with his now primate pal, Faith, and the rest of the crew. A storm rages and throws Rama overboard, and here begins the worst level of the game. You have to make it back through the stormy scene 3 minutes to shore, and what makes it difficult is not only the awkward swimming controls, but the fact that you just can't see anything. You have to swim under the surface and follow the glowing rocks to some degree, but moving outside of them will push you right back to the start. You can use the hint system in the pause menu to tell you that it is safe behind the rocks where the sand on the seafloor hasn't been washed away, which makes sense, if you could see the rocks or the floor anyway. Other than that, it's a pretty atmospheric and exciting setting for a level. Rama makes it to shore but collapses and wakes up in level 4, a prison cell and a monster pit, where he is forced to fight for the satisfaction of the slaver, who...
He's attacked more of my slave ships than the whole of the king's fleet put together. There were also 3 men and a monkey on board.
That voice sounds familiar. Is it... That's it! It's Cam Clark, Liquid Snake, Kratos, Leonardo, voice acting royalty. The voices on the whole in this game are pretty solid, with Rama being voiced by Roger Jackson, the voice of the killer Ghostface in the Scream series, Faith as Jennifer Hale, known for everything, maybe female Commander Shepard from Mass Effect. Anyway, he'll then have to fight Miyoko, who is under the control of Fei Wong, and defeating her frees her from his control, and joins you. Miyoko, incidentally, is also voiced by another recognisable actor, Kim Ma-Guest, perhaps best known as Mei Ling from the Metal Gear Solid games. Rama will have to fight another giant boss battle against a giant creature, doing the same thing as the statues, climbing up its body and stabbing it in the head. This level is very heavy on the bosses, and even after the 2 at the start of the level, you'll have to fight a tiger, and then an even bigger version of the monster you fought at the start of the level. You'll have to infiltrate the Slaver's palace, and do so by leaping across these cliffs in jumps which don't really seem plausible or possible. You just gotta trust Rama's unparalleled athleticism. There's also catapults you'll need to use to launch yourself into the air into inaccessible areas, creating a feeling that the game just decided to move away from precision platforming into defying platforming of any kind. It's very odd. The next level has you trying to gain access to some ancient ruins to find the map to the ancient land where the tree ship is from. First, though, you'll have to rebuild a giant golem by finding parts under the sea, with Miyoko helping to provide air as you go. Reforming the golem, you can pilot it to defeat the giant monster guarding the ruins, and this is perhaps the most frustrating bit of the game. You'll have to pilot your giant mecha and defeat the monster by knocking it into the lava, but the controls are really bad here. Attacking is so slow, and if the monster moves away from the lava where it starts, it's near impossible to get it back near it. It's truly a case of running over to the monster as quickly as you can, mashing the attack button, and praying it actually does something. Solving the puzzles inside with the help of Faith and Miyoko's skills, you'll find out the location of the ancient land. When you get there, you'll come across the ancients themselves, who will put you to the test, and have you jumping around a floating castle or some such, using the wind to essentially fly across the level, and again make jumps and traversals that are very haphazard. You'll also get to shrink and infiltrate a lab for a bit more variety. You'll finally catch up to Jabez, who captures Faith and Miyoko, and forces you to make a choice about who to save in only 10 seconds. How are you supposed to choose between... Okay, I choose Miyoko. You can also pause to take your time, but still, very mean Jabez. Whoever you don't choose will die in a shocking twist, and Jabez is transformed by the magic he has been using into a giant monster, and you'll have to fight him in the same way as every other giant monster in the game, jumping up on his back and stabbing him, although you'll have to get some help from the ancients creating a magic wind to carry you as you jump from higher ground onto the beast. Finally defeating Jabez, the ancients use the herbs to revive whoever it is you left to die, and Rama sets sail with his crew on his next adventure. And you'll get a credit scene with Rama and whoever you saved getting very hands-on, and a little extended scene if you collected all of the secret swords. So that's Galleon, the game I took 20 years to play. Was it worth the wait? Not really. Mostly because it wasn't the type of game I thought it was going to be, looking through those magazines all those years ago. I expected a Legend of Zelda-like open world, travelling the seas, completing quests, talking to people. None of that is in the game. It's a Tomb Raider game, a franchise I don't hate, but never really engaged with as a kid, being an N64 youth rather than a PlayStation one. Independent of my own story, I think it's an okay game. The characters are well animated in their own style, the voice acting is good, alongside the music too, but there's not a lot of it as the levels are mostly silent aside from the occasional set piece. As mentioned, my big problems with the game are the controls. They feel outdated and perhaps never evolved in the years the game was in development hell. The difference between the two modes is too great, and you're often either too slow or too fast. Boss battles follow the same format throughout and offer little variety, and combat is very clunky. It sticks quite close to the Tomb Raider formula in some respects, but deviates in others, often putting precise platforming into scenarios it doesn't really work. Still, all in all, a decent little adventure with room to expand and develop further adventures, but sadly, that never came to be. That said, there technically was one other game in the Galleon series, and it's a mobile game. Galleon Dusk was released soon after Galleon in 2005, and I say technically it's another game because it is a different game, but it is just a retelling of the latter half of the Xbox game. In this 2D platformer, you still play as Rama, but you start the game in the Slaver's Palace, having to navigate through by swimming and launching yourself on catapults to get through. Next, you'll have to assemble the golem to gain entrance to the ruins as in the Xbox game, with Faith looking nothing like Faith for some reason. Moving through different rooms, solving basic puzzles and doing a bit of platforming, it's all very simple. The only real issue is that it's difficult to gauge how far you can jump and grab onto platforms. Combat is basic, you've got your sword and a gun, and if you die, you'll just be sent to the menu and can resume in the room you were in at full health, so it's not really an issue. The final level again is some more item collecting and platforming before you confront Jabez, who has caught Miyoko and Faith again. He's not too difficult, just jump over his attacks to get close and slash your sword. He should die before you do. Doing so, the game is complete, and we get a victory screen telling us how all our heroes sail home. Obviously, this is a bit different from the original game, no giant monster Jabez, but still in the spirit of it, close enough. There isn't much of a game, you can get through it in just over an hour, but it's simple enough to play on your old mobile phone, if you can manage to do the platforming with an old phone's keypad. And that truly is the end of the Galleon story, as well as the end of a 20-year curiosity for myself. See you next time for another story.